Jeez, that Aurelion death ray is just nuts. It just melts through everything. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's 8fist with another Teamfight Tactics video. This one I did off stream, and I was actually just kind of practicing. I was going to give a Fast 9 comp a try. It didn't end up going that way, but I ended up with a pretty decent game anyway, so I thought I would throw it up on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is 8fist. I'm not a seasoned TFT player. I used to stream this game back during the Set 1 and Set 2 days when the game was brand new. It's been a while since I've played, and I'm sort of relearning the game. So if you're interested in seeing me rank climb and sort of relearn the game, or if you're new to the game and want to hang out with somebody who's learning alongside, I will post videos of my gameplay. I'll post some videos of things as I learn them, and I'll also go over different comps and things like that. I stream live on Twitch and on YouTube 4 or 5 nights a week in the evenings, usually around 10 Eastern time at night. So if you're interested in coming by, come hang out with us. We have a nice community here, so appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you enjoy the video. So like I said, I haven't played this game a whole lot in recent sets. I was a Set 1, Set 2 player a long time ago. And so I'm kind of getting re-familiar with the meta. I'm getting familiar with what's new in the new patch, and just overall getting a better feel of like how to play the game. So in this one, like I said, I was going for econ early here. So I was hoping to go for a Fast 9 and give that a try, since I've yet to try that sort of comp. It did not end up going that way. I did get a little bit of econ going towards the middle of the game, which you'll see in a little bit here, but I did start with Heart of Steel, and I got a Steadfast Heart, which wasn't really what I was looking for, but I ended up kind of running with it anyway. And like I said, it ended up working out. This game was a victory after it was all said and done. And what you'll see here a little bit early on is I'm kind of trying to play off this Dark Star comp, and it didn't really work out for me. So I ended up having to pivot it. But early on, it ended up turning into a loss streak, and that helped me get a little bit econ going. You know, with a Fast 9 build, you're really looking to win streak early on. So this pretty much fell flat on its face right away. But I kind of hung in there for a little bit, and just kind of traded my health for money. We got an Asher's early on too, which I threw that on Lysandra. And I will say, one of my misplays was kind of sticking with Lysandra as long as I did. I should have kind of pivoted out of using her and should have kind of walked away from this Dark Star comp earlier on. Some of these early rounds I'll kind of speed up through so we can kind of get through this and get to see how the mid game and how the end game sort of shook out for me. But a few misplays here, a couple things that I'm still kind of picking up on and learning. What ended up happening was the loss streak turned into me just kind of biding my time to kind of figure out if something, like to see if I would just get lucky and find something to work with, and just kind of survive long enough to see if that would happen. Now here I got Anvil Transformation, which I was really happy about. You know, always going for econ. Econ seems to be what I gravitate towards anyway, but Anvil Transformation ended up being really great here. And I think in retrospect, if I could go back, I may have picked Misfortune here, but instead I went with Diana. And I haven't played any comps that centered around Diana as my carry, but she was really, really effective here. The video, I'm kind of focusing a little bit more on Aurelion, but there were a couple of points where Diana really kind of got me through some tough points, and I really honestly didn't know how effective she really was. And I think I'd like to start playing more boards with her being kind of the centerpiece damage carry. And so she was really, really great here. I should have swapped her in immediately and didn't. That was another misplay, one of one of many misplays in this game. We got a 2-star Mord, 2-star Cho'Gath here, and so I'm starting to wonder if whether or not the Dark Star comp was going to end up being something viable. But it didn't. Again, it didn't end up being the case, but it got me through, and it sort of snapped my loss streak, which I suppose would have actually been a little bit counterintuitive to what we ended up doing here. But saved a few health points, and you know, kind of just hurdled our way through a little bit here into getting a little bit closer to the mid game. Now here I got really lucky with advanced loan. The gold was exactly what I needed. Tried to see if I could find any other rerolls that would work for me, but really the gold was what I needed the most. And then I put together a Ginsu's for Diana. Stuck with just kind of a cookie cutter item set for Diana. I did intend to max out her items all along. The only thing I think I would have maybe done a little bit different is focus maybe on more tank items up front, but it seemed more attainable to get damage items first. Now here's where things really changed for me, picking up the Aurelion, and Aurelion with a tier was exactly what I needed. I left him on my bench for just a bit, and also ended up going with the Tom Kenshire, and I started thinking that maybe if I pivoted to more four cost champions on my board, it might help swing things for me a little bit, and I think that's exactly what ended up happening. And so I ended up changing some things out. And really what I should have done is taken Lysandra out almost immediately and swapped Aurelion in sooner. And that was just, again, just a misplay. And, trying to lean into having Darkstar synergy on my board, which at 2-piece, it really just was not worth it. But again, you live and you learn. And just got lucky with the 2-star Diana here. Finally corrected the placement issue with Diana, and then got some animals to play with a little bit here too. Thieves Gloves was an obvious choice here. I'm still kind of mixed about Thieves Gloves just because, sometimes you just end up with items, but sometimes it's, suboptimal. And so, it was the best choice for me at the time. And so I grabbed them, but I may not be as big of a fan, or maybe just I haven't seen Thieves Gloves in action enough to really be sold on them. And so I went with them anyway, and then they ended up working out. Now I'm thinking with Aurelion, one Aurelion on the board and one on my bench. I'm just being one away from a 2-star. Starting to think about what kind of items I can kind of stack onto him. And I don't really know the best way to play Aurelion. Feel free to leave me a comment below on how you play Aurelion, if you run boards with Aurelion. I'd be curious to know what you're finding to be working out for you, but just kind of standard caster damage items for him. And then got lucky with the 3rd, and so he popped up again here, and I really did kind of contemplate on trying to go for a 3-star. I didn't have super high hopes because I do know that Aurelion is a more commonly played champion, and so I sort of expected to be competing. And I should have scouted, and that's just not something I'm up to doing just yet. I'm mostly focused on just making sure that I'm minimizing my misplays, which, as you can see from this game, are still happening pretty abundantly. But at this point, I'm using my time to kind of think about what I want to do with my pieces and how I want to arrange the board, and am I building the right items. When I get a little bit better at the game, I'll start spending more time scouting, and then I can have a better idea as to what champions I'm competing for and how likely I might be to getting what I'm looking for. I blew my econ for that 9, really, which was kind of the idea all along, and just try to get 9 pieces on the board. And so now I'm starting to think about whether or not there may be a chance at like some sort of an Exodia build or something along those lines. And maybe, like I'm picking up Graves here, maybe stacking my board with more 5-cost champions is going to be a better play. I did grab Graves and I finally corrected my mistake, which was keeping Lysandra on my board for far too long. And I need to go back and kind of take a look at Graves, I think, a little bit closer. I know that Aurelion and Diana ended up carrying my team comp for the most part, but Graves seemed to be pretty strong, and I ended up getting some pretty decent items on Diana, and so it may have been better to swap those over once I 2-starred Graves, which I did eventually do. But again, Diana was doing so much work, especially when she got into that back line. It just seemed to make sense, and I figured why fix what isn't broken. I think it was this round where I'm really starting to see the power of Aurelion with items. Just starts melting things, and especially when it bounces from that beam to the front line all the way to the back line. And just seeing how it kind of took the end of this fight here, I was just really impressed with that. And so much more powerful than I originally realized. Maybe people who have been playing over more recent sets already knew this, and like I said, I've seen a couple of other comps where Aurelion is kind of at the centerpiece for damage carry. There you can see my 2-star Graves finally. But even at a 2-star Aurelion, that beam just does so much damage. I'd like to see what other comps I might be able to squeeze them into. Now here I'm kind of checking the damage just to see how they sort of stack up. Aurelion definitely carrying the top damage place there, but Diana doing some pretty good work, and there were a couple other points I'll take a look at too where I noticed Diana actually took over that top spot, and I didn't really pursue a 3-star for her. I didn't see enough of her tokens on the bottom to kind of grab more, but felt okay about this for the most part. And now you can see I still need to work on my Shen placement because I didn't get everybody in the hexes, and I didn't put the hexes where I wanted them to be. But you can see I'm starting to get now the more of the 5-cost champions out onto the board, and it seemed to be doing pretty well here. So I was feeling pretty confident despite a pretty slow start and sort of an awkward transition in the mid game. But as I got a little bit closer to the end game here, and we ended up in top 4, I was starting to feel pretty confident with what I was seeing, especially with the margin of victory that we were having round per round. Over half my board was still alive here, a few of them almost at full health. So was feeling pretty good. Yeah, feeling confident with what I had. Grab another tank item here. Usually whenever I run like some sort of meeple comp, I'm usually trying to stack items on my tanks really early and try to go heavy with tank items. This was definitely much more damage heavy item sets that I was going for. Again, not entirely sure yet what's optimal, but you can see Diana kind of taking over that top spot on damage dealt there on. But I definitely went for more damage items on this particular game, and I'm glad I did. It ended up working out pretty well, but again, the tank area is where I thought, with the exception of Tom Kench, I didn't feel great about what I had on my front line. And so that's a little bit different for me, focusing more on damage. So I think it was a good way to approach this game, and a good sort of takeaway for me as I'm relearning this game and getting more comfortable with different things is remembering that you don't need a huge, thick front line if you've got a lot of damage to support it. You don't need them to survive as long as you're burning things down fast enough. So just another takeaway that I had might be useful for you too. And here we're starting to turn the corner. 6-1, we're getting into the closer to the end game here. I finally got an item for Graves, which I went with Infinity Edge. Again, I'm not entirely sure what's always optimal for all these. Feel free to leave me a comment in the comments below if you found a build or a particular item makeup for different characters or different champions that you like. I'd like to try them if I can. this round was a good test for me. You know, being in top 4, finally getting to see sort of what is working and what isn't. You can see I tore through that board pretty well. And getting a Shen, I think really helped transition into a more late game ready composition. And then adding the Deathblade to Graves. It's at this point I'm feeling like I pretty much have the win. A few last rolls to see what else I can kind of put together. I'm not sure if I missed some opportunities here. I need to kind of study a little bit closer on different comps and see if there's some other things I should have picked there. But overall, again, I was really happy with kind of how this game ended up, mostly just from what I learned from it. You know, I was pretty happy overall. So good win. If you got this far, thanks so much for watching. Again, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.